Imagine being 14, a new bride in a smoke-filled cottage. Outside, drunken villagers beat pots, waiting to hear you cry. Inside, a husband twice your age reaches for you, not with tenderness, but with duty. In medieval Europe, the marriage bed was never private. It was a stage, a ritual, and often a nightmare. Tonight, we uncover the hidden truths of intimacy in the Middle Ages. Section 1. Imagine the year is 1349 AD, a bitter spring still trembling under the shadow of the great pestilence. You are Isolde, scarcely 14 winters old, standing in the narrow doorway of a timber-framed cottage. The thatch above leaks with every rainfall, the walls smell of smoke and damp straw, and tonight you are a bride. Your husband, if one can call him that, is Matthias, a man of nearly 30, with hands cracked from years behind the plow and eyes that never linger on you too long, except now. Your bare toes curl against the rushes spread across the floor, the stalks prickling against your skin. Behind you, your mother fusses with the linen shift she stitched from coarse wool, whispering prayers under her breath in a voice too low for Matthias to hear. "Obey him, and God will be merciful," she murmurs, her lips trembling as though she isn't sure whether she believes her own words. Outside, the air is full of merriment that isn't yours. Men shout, their voices thick with ale, beating pots and pans in time to their laughter. A wedding night is not a private affair, not here, not in this village where every neighbor has the right to confirm whether you bleed. "Go on, lad!" someone hollers through the thin shutters. "Show her what a man's worth!" The raucous encouragement scrapes at your nerves, each word hammering your heart deeper into your chest. Matthias steps closer. Candlelight sputters across his face, illuminating the jagged scar along his jaw from an old harvest accident. He smells of sweat and smoke, of pig fat and damp wool. His fingers, broad and rough, reach for the leather cord at your neck, tugging it loose. The cross your mother gave you swings wildly, knocking against your collarbone like it, too, is afraid. "Isolde," he says, his voice low but certain. "It is time." Your breath falters. No lessons, no whispered warnings from your mother could prepare you for this moment, where the body is not your own but a commodity traded for barley, goats, and land. The room is small, smoky, filled with the pressure of expectation. The shouts outside grow louder, wooden spoons beating against iron pots, until it seems as if the entire village pounds at the walls, demanding proof of your submission. This is not love. This is duty and transaction, as much a contract as any parchment signed in the manor hall. And as Matthias' shadow falls over you, you wonder if heaven hears the trembling gasp of a child pressed into the rituals of a world where even the most intimate act is never truly private. Section 2. Matthias lowers himself onto the straw-stuffed mattress, the wood frame creaking beneath his weight. He pats the space beside him, not unkindly, but with a finality that makes your chest tighten. You hesitate. The air between you quivers like the space between thunder and its strike. Your mother lingers for a heartbeat too long in the doorway. Her face, lined from years of toil, flickers in the candlelight. You search her eyes for rescue, for some sign she will snatch you back into her arms and send these men home. But she only lowers her gaze and steps outside, closing the warped wooden door behind her. The sound of the latch falling is louder than any church bell. The laughter outside carries on, slurred songs about harvests, pigs, and women. Their words turn lewd, their jokes clashing with the solemn hush inside. You wrap your arms around yourself, fingers digging into your shift. "Come," Matthias says again. His voice is deeper than the raucous men outside, steady in a way that feels both commanding and weary. He removes his boots, each thud against the floor echoing. Then his tunic, thick with the smell of oxhide and earth, is pulled over his head. The shadows carve deep lines into his shoulders, his body hardened by the plow. When you do not move, his brow furrows. "Your father gave me a dowry worth half his winter stores. Do you dishonor him?" The words are not shouted, not even cruel. But they are sharp as any blade, slicing through your hesitation. Trembling, you take one small step, then another, until the mattress dips beneath your weight. The straw rustles, sharp ends pricking through the thin cloth beneath you. Matthias studies you, his dark eyes unreadable. "You are young," he mutters, almost to himself, before reaching out to untie the leather cord at your waist. You flinch, but he pauses, his hand hovering. "It need not be with fear," he says, though you do not know if the words are promise or warning. From outside, the chanting grows louder. "Proof! Proof! Proof!" The men stamp their feet, rattling the thin shutters. The room vibrates with the sound of their expectation. You feel the weight of the whole village pressing against the thin walls, intruding into the narrow space where your childhood ends. Your lips tremble. "Must they listen?" you whisper, unable to meet his gaze. "They must," Matthias answers, not unkindly. "Without proof, our marriage holds no standing. They will call you a whore, me a fool, and your father a liar." His voice hardens. "We have no choice." The words crush the last of your resistance. You feel yourself unraveling, like spun flax pulled too tight. As Matthias' callous fingers finally tug at the ties of your shift, the world seems to tilt, the candlelight swaying, the shadows of the rafters stretching long like crooked fingers across the smoke-dark ceiling. You hear the laughter, the pounding, the chant of men demanding your pain as evidence. And for the first time, you understand what your mother meant when she whispered, "A wife is not a woman, she is property." Section 3. The woolen shift slides from your shoulders, rough fabric scratching across your skin before pooling at your waist. Goose flesh prickles your arms, though the cottage is warm from the fire that smolders in the hearth. Matthias exhales through his nose, as though steadying himself. He doesn't lunge or tear at you the way the bawdy songs outside would suggest. He moves with a strange caution, but also with the determination of someone fulfilling a task that cannot be postponed. You close your eyes, wishing you could disappear into the crackling rushes on the floor, or vanish into the smoke that curls up the chimney. Every sound is magnified, the scrape of straw beneath him as he shifts his weight, the distant hiccup of a drunkard outside, the faint wheeze of the fire. "Look at me," Matthias says softly, his voice carrying a command you cannot refuse. Slowly you open your eyes. His are brown, shadowed by exhaustion, not lust. You wonder if he feels trapped too. Bound by custom, by your father's bargain, by the demand of the men outside who will not leave until they hear you cry. When his rough palm touches your cheek, you flinch. He frowns, pulls back, then sighs. "They are like wolves," he mutters, jerking his head toward the window. "If they do not hear you, they will call me weak. I will not have that shame." The chant outside rises again. "Blood! Proof! Blood!" Wooden spoons clatter against iron pots, boots stomp against packed earth. The whole village pounds like a drum, a grotesque rhythm demanding your surrender. Your throat feels raw, though you have not spoken. You whisper, barely audible, "Will it hurt?" Matthias' jaw tightens. "Yes." Then, after a pause, "But only once." His words are no comfort, yet there is an honesty in them that unsettles you. He does not promise gentleness, only inevitability. His hands tug the shift the rest of the way down, and you clutch at the straw mattress, as though its pricking stems might anchor you to something solid. The door rattles suddenly. One of the men outside has shoved it, testing the latch. "Don't be shy, bride!" a voice bellows. "We're waiting to hear!" Roars of laughter follow, spilling into your chamber like a wave of filth. Matthias' face darkens. He rises abruptly, strides to the door, and throws it open just enough to bark into the night. "You'll have your proof when it's done! Until then, keep your drunken tongues in your skulls or I'll have silence with my fists!" A chorus of mocking jeers answers him, but the door slams shut again, muting them. His shoulders heave once, twice, before he turns back to you. His eyes no longer hold weariness. They burn with something else now, pride wounded, dignity clawing against humiliation. When he returns to the bed, he does not ask again. His hands grip your wrists, not cruelly but firmly, pinning them to the mattress. His weight settles over you, the straw creaks, and in that moment you realize that your body is no longer your own. It is a battlefield, and the first blow has already been struck. Outside, the men cheer at the first muffled cry that escapes your throat, a sound you didn't even mean to give them. The pounding of pots resonates triumphant, as though your pain were a song they had been waiting to hear. And in the dim light of the cottage, beneath Matthias' shadow, you understand, this is not simply a wedding night. It is a spectacle. A performance demanded by law, custom, and hunger. And you, Isolde, are both the stage and the sacrifice. Section 4. The night passes in fragments, moments of pain, moments of silence, moments where the walls themselves seem to close in with every breath. When the shouting outside finally dwindles, the cottage feels emptier than before, though Matthias still lies beside you, his chest rising and falling with steady rhythm. The smell of sweat and straw clings to the air, mixed with the iron tang of blood. You lie awake, eyes fixed on the rafters above, tracing the lines where soot blackens the beams. Every creak of the cottage feels magnified. The echo of your mother's warning returns, not as comfort, but as a curse: obey him, and God will be merciful. But what of God's mercy now? You feel only the weight of exhaustion pressing down, heavier than Matthias' body ever was. At dawn, the door rattles again, not from drunken revelry, but from the brisk hand of your mother. She steps inside without waiting for invitation, carrying a wooden bowl of watered ale and a cloth bundle. Her eyes dart to the rumpled bed, then to the stain on the linen. She exhales as though some burden has lifted. Good, she mutters, setting the bowl on the table. No shame upon us. Shame. That is what your body has become, a vessel for honor or disgrace, not your own, but your family's. You want to speak, to tell her what it felt like, how it carved into you, but the words wither on your tongue. She does not ask. She does not need to. Proof lies in plain sight. Matthias stirs, sitting up. His hair is a tangled mess, his scar red in the morning light. The men will expect to see it, he says, voice hoarse. Your mother nods briskly, already gathering the sheet. I'll take it to the green. Let them see what they came for. She folds it quickly, efficiently, like a woman accustomed to the ritual. When she glances back at you, her eyes flicker, pity, perhaps, or something else hidden too deep to name, but the look vanishes before you can grasp it. When she leaves, silence returns, broken only by the dull thud of Matthias pulling on his boots. He doesn't look at you, not directly. Instead, he mutters, "You'll grow used to it. All wives do." You do not answer. You pull the woolen shift back over your shoulders, clutching it around you like armor. Through the shutter cracks, you can already hear the village stirring, the gossip beginning, the men boasting of what they heard through thin walls. Soon the sheet will be raised, a trophy displayed in the square, and your body will be no longer yours, but part of the village's story. Later that morning, as you fetch water from the well, two women, old crones with scarves knotted under their chins, lean against the stone rim and watch you. Their eyes flick to your pail, then to your face. One spits into the dirt. "Another child lost to marriage," she mutters. The other chuckles, though there is no humor in it. "Better she bleeds now than later in sin. At least she's wed." You pretend not to hear. You keep your gaze on the water sloshing in the bucket, though it ripples with every throb of your heart. That evening, when you pass through the cottage door again, Matthias is sharpening a knife by the fire. He looks up once, nods, then returns to his task. The scraping steel sings against the whetstone, steady and relentless. And in the rhythm of that sound, you hear the truth: your life has been cut into two halves, before and after. Section 5. The days that follow blur together, stitched with chores and silence. Morning finds you at the well, your arms straining against the weight of water buckets. Afternoons are spent spreading linens, sweeping rushes, feeding hens, grinding barley. The work is endless, yet it is better than the nights, when the bed becomes a battlefield once more. Matthias is not always cruel. Sometimes he speaks to you softly, even clumsily, as though he knows he frightens you. But the duty between you hangs heavy, unavoidable as the tolling of a church bell. On Sundays you walk with him to the parish church. The building looms gray and damp, its walls dripping with moss. Inside, the priest's voice drones over the congregation, words of sin and salvation echoing beneath the vaulted timbers. You kneel on cold stone, your knees burning, your stomach churning as he speaks of lust as a fire from hell. Even within marriage, he says, sin breeds like worms in a rotting apple. Your eyes dart to Matthias as the sermon lingers on marital duty. The priest recites from the penitential manual, reminding husbands and wives of the rules: no coupling on holy days, nor during Lent, nor on Wednesdays, Fridays, or Sundays. No intimacy during pregnancy, during monthly bleeding, or while nursing. You count the days in your head. How many remain when a wife may submit without damning her soul? Barely 50 in a year. After Mass, the priest corners you in the churchyard, his long fingers curling around his rosary beads. His eyes are sharp, too sharp for kindness. Child, he says, though you are no longer truly a child, you must guard your husband's soul as much as your own. Should he press you on forbidden days, you must resist. Better to endure his anger than risk his damnation. The words chill you. Resist? You picture Matthias' shadow falling over you, the way his jaw tightens when you hesitate, the weight of his hands pinning you down. How does one resist a storm, a fire, a man? That night, when Matthias reaches for you, you whisper, "It is Sunday." He pauses, brow furrowed. Then he shrugs, pulling you close anyway. The priest speaks, "But I am the one who works the fields. God will forgive." You do not argue. You cannot. But as the straw rustles beneath you, you hear the priest's voice echoing in your skull, promising damnation for pleasure taken on the wrong day. You close your eyes and pray, not for yourself, but for your soul, for Matthias' soul, for some shred of mercy that might lift you from this impossible snare. In the village, whispers coil like smoke. Women warn you about the dangers of your own body. Old Agnes, the healer who lives at the forest's edge, grips your arm one day when you pass her stall. Her hands are knotted with veins, her nails rimmed with dirt. "Guard your womb, girl," she rasps. "It wanders when displeased. If it climbs to your chest, it will strangle your heart. If it sinks, it will slip out altogether." You stare at her, confused, but she only presses a sprig of dried pennyroyal into your hand. "Steep it in water if you must keep a babe from taking root," she says, her eyes darting about to see if anyone listens. "But mind the dose, too much, and the tea will kill you quicker than it kills the seed." You shove the herb deep into your apron, heart racing. These words feel like both gift and curse. Isolde the wife, Isolde the child, Isolde the vessel, every part of you pulled between survival and sin. And always, in the back of your mind, the pounding of pots and pans on your wedding night, the chant of men demanding proof, echoes on. Section 6. Summer deepens, heavy with the smell of dung and cut hay. The village bustles from dawn to dusk, children chasing geese, women bent over looms, men sweating at the plow. Life moves in rhythm with the land, but beneath its surface lies a web of superstition that governs every act, even in the bedchamber. You learn this not from Matthias, who speaks little of anything beyond his fields, but from the whispers of the women. When you knead dough beside your mother, she leans close and murmurs warnings as though reciting prayers. "Never lie with him on a Friday. Christ died on a Friday. Do you wish your soul to suffer with him? And if your courses have come, beware. A man who joins with you then may see his crops wither." The priest said once a woman's monthly blood could sour milk and turn wine to vinegar. Her words stick like burrs in your mind. You look at the cows grazing in the pasture, at the clay jugs of ale fermenting in Matthias' cellar, and you wonder, could your body truly spoil them? Are you so dangerous? One evening, when the sun bleeds red across the fields, Matthias returns from the plow, sweat streaking his brow. He finds you stirring pottage by the hearth. He sets down his tools and watches you for a moment before saying, "The priest claims too much pleasure damns a man. Have you heard him say so?" You nod. Matthias grimaces, throwing a stick into the fire. Then let him plow the fields with his sermons. A man who labors 6 days must have comfort on the 7th. His voice holds bitterness, but also something else, a flicker of defiance. For a moment, you see not only your husband but a man pressed beneath the same crushing laws. Later that night, when his calloused hands find you, you remember your mother's voice, the priest's warnings, the women at the well. Fear coils in your belly. If the priest is right, then your body is not only vulnerable, it is a weapon that can damn you both. And yet another whisper haunts you, one not of church or kin, but of old Agnes at the forest's edge. Her wrinkled hand pressing pennyroyal into your palm, her voice hissing like wine through reeds, guard your womb. When Matthias falls asleep, snoring softly, you slip from the bed and light a stub of tallow candle. From beneath the rushes you pull the sprig of dried herb you had hidden. It crumbles between your fingers, its bitter scent rising. Your hands shake as you crush it into the wooden cup, add water from the jug, and raise it to your lips. The taste is foul, bitter as bile. You gag, then force it down, clutching your stomach. You think of your mother, who never dared such things. You think of the priest, who would call it witchcraft. You think of Agnes, who said too much would kill you. And as the candle sputters, you whisper to the silence, better death of my own choosing than death from another's. The night presses on. Your stomach churns, but you keep breathing, waiting for pain, for poison, for anything. By dawn, you are still alive. Alive, but changed. For now you know that secrets, the herbs, the whispers, the defiance of rules, are the only shield a woman may keep for herself. Section 7. The gossip begins with a whisper, as it always does. Two women at the well, one bending low to draw her bucket, the other leaning on the stone rim, mutter just loud enough for you to hear. The new bride walks pale these days, one says. Her eyes carry secrets. The other snickers. Secrets find their way to light. Always do. You keep your gaze fixed on the rippling water, though your hands tremble as you pull the rope. The wooden pail splashes, heavy with the weight of their words. You say nothing, because any denial will only feed their hunger. By evening, the whispers spread further. Men linger longer when you pass with your basket. Old women peer from doorways. A boy even laughs, tugging his friend's sleeve. The bride bleeds too much. He jeers, though he cannot know such things. Still, the cruelty stings, for in a village of less than 60 souls, rumor is as real as fact. That Sunday, Father Ulrich addresses the congregation with unusual fire. His voice echoes off the damp stone walls, eyes gleaming beneath his tonsure. Beware the snares of Satan that creep into the marriage bed, he intones. The devil's whispers teach wives to resist their husbands, to meddle with foul herbs, to turn away from holy union. Such women invite demons into their chambers. Such women risk not only their souls but the harvest of us all. The congregation murmurs. You feel heat rise in your cheeks as though his gaze rests squarely on you, though you dare not lift your head. Matthias sits rigid beside you, jaw clenched, one hand tightening on his knee. After Mass, the villagers gather in the square. The sheet from another girl's wedding is displayed, spotted and stiff, the proof of her consummation fluttering in the breeze like a banner. The crowd cheers as though it were a victory. The girl stands nearby, her face flushed crimson, eyes cast downward, her shame now woven into the fabric for all to see. God's justice is swift. Someone mutters behind you. Those who stray will burn. That evening, Matthias slams the door of your cottage harder than usual. He throws his cloak onto the bench and rounds on you, his face shadowed by firelight. They speak of herbs, he says, voice low and dangerous. Tell me, Isolde, have you sought the counsel of that forest hag? Your blood runs cold. The cup. The pennyroyal. The bitter taste you still remember. You open your mouth, but no words come. He steps closer, towering above you. Do not lie to me, he growls. If the priest suspects, if the villagers accuse, do you know what they do to women caught with such witchery? Images flash through your mind, tales of women dragged to the river, bound and thrown into the current to see if they float, others tied to posts while the mob jeered, torches crackling. Your voice cracks, small as a child's. I have done nothing. Matthias stares at you, his jaw working. For a long moment, silence smothers the cottage. Then, at last, he exhales sharply, turning away. Pray it remains so, he mutters, snatching up a crust of bread. He eats standing, his back to you, the fire painting him in shifting red shadows. You remain frozen, your heart hammering. You had thought secrecy might be your shield. Now you see it is also your snare. Outside, the village bells toll for Compline, their echoes rolling over the fields. Each chime is a reminder: God watches, the village watches, Matthias watches. And in a world where women are property, there is no corner dark enough to hide in. Would you like me to continue into Section 8, where punishment and superstition in the village escalate, and Isolde begins to see how other women endure, or resist, the same fate? J.Z. Continue. ChatGPT-Z. Section 8. 2 weeks later, the village gathers for a spectacle. Word has spread that a woman from the next hamlet, a widow named Greta, was found with herbs tucked in her skirts. She claimed they were for stomach cramps, but the priest declared them the devil's tools. You stand among the crowd in the square, the late summer sun beating down, sweat trickling between your shoulder blades. Greta is dragged forward, wrists bound, her face hollow with fear. She is perhaps 30, old enough to have borne children, young enough still to feel the weight of shame. Her hair hangs loose, wild about her shoulders, as Father Ulrich raises his hand for silence. This woman sought to meddle with the Lord's work, he proclaims, his voice booming. She denied the will of God, who opens and closes wombs as he sees fit. She sought to master what is not hers to master. And so she brings danger to us all: famine, barrenness, pestilence. The crowd hisses. Some spit. A boy throws a clump of dirt that strikes Greta's cheek, leaving a brown smear across her pale skin. You flinch as though struck yourself. She will confess, Ulrich continues. And she will repent. But Greta does not weep or beg. She lifts her chin, eyes scanning the faces of the villagers, faces she has known all her life, who now glare at her like wolves scenting blood. Her voice, when it comes, is hoarse but steady. You call me a witch because I would ease my pain. If that is sin, then every woman here is guilty, though none dare say it aloud. A ripple passes through the crowd. For a heartbeat, you think someone might step forward, might defend her. But no one moves. Not a single man, not a single woman. You feel your stomach clench, for you know she speaks the truth. The punishment is not death, at least, not openly. Ulrich orders her locked in the stocks for 3 days, with only bread and water. Children hurl stones. Men laugh and jeer. By the 2nd day, Greta's lips are cracked, her head bowed. By the 3rd, she is too weak to lift her eyes. When they finally release her, she stumbles into the woods, and you do not see her again. That night, as you scrape the pot after supper, Matthias watches you with a gaze that makes your skin prickle. You see what becomes of such women, he says quietly. Do not be foolish. You nod, but your heart is restless. Greta's words echo in your mind, louder than the priest's sermon, louder than the crowd's jeers. Every woman here is guilty. Later, you lie awake on the straw mattress, Matthias snoring beside you, the shadows of the rafters like dark fingers reaching down. You think of the pennyroyal hidden in the forest, of Agnes and her sharp, knowing eyes, of Greta's defiance even as the crowd spat on her. And for the first time, you wonder if obedience is truly safety, or if it is merely another kind of death. Do you want me to move into Section 9, where Isolde seeks out other women's hidden knowledge and starts to glimpse the fragile sisterhood that exists beneath the weight of church and custom? J.Z. Continue. ChatGPT-Z. Section 9. The next market day, when Matthias is busy bargaining over a sickly goat, you slip away. The square hums with voices, the clatter of hooves, the stink of hides and fish. You weave through the throng until the huts thin and the trees begin. Beyond the fields, where the land grows quiet, the forest waits. You hesitate at the edge, the shadows cool against your face. Every tale you've ever been told warns against wandering here: spirits, wolves, outlaws. But something stronger than fear pulls you forward. You find Agnes near her crooked hut, stooped over a patch of herbs sprouting from the soil. Her back is bent, her gray hair tangled, her hands caked with earth. When she sees you, she squints, then spits into the dirt. I wondered when you'd come. Your heart jolts. She waves you silent, beckoning you inside. The hut smells of smoke and dried plants, sharp and bitter, yet not unpleasant. Bundles of herbs hang from the rafters, their shadows dangling like charms. A pot simmers on the hearth, filling the air with pungent steam. You've tasted pennyroyal already, Agnes says, her eyes glinting. But you don't know the half of it. There are other herbs, tansy, rue, savon, that can guard your womb or end what has already begun. The words sting, though they stir a strange relief too. But the priest. She barks a laugh, dry as tinder. The priest knows nothing of women's bodies. His books were written by men who never bled a day in their lives. They call us sinful, but when their wives fall sick, who do they send for? Not the saints. Me. She shuffles closer, her crooked finger poking your chest. Remember this, girl, your body is yours, no matter what men claim. But tread carefully. One wrong measure, and you'll drink your own death. You nod, fear and gratitude tangling in your chest. Agnes presses a small pouch into your hand, tied with fraying twine. For pain, she says. Not too much. Hide it well. When you return to the square, Matthias is still arguing over the goat, his face red with stubbornness. He does not notice the pouch hidden deep in your apron. That night you sit by the hearth, staring at the flames. Greta's hollow face rises in your memory. Agnes's words press into your mind. Your body is yours. Yet as Matthias stirs in the bed and calls your name, you realize the truth. Your body may be yours in secret, but in the eyes of the world, it belongs to him, to your father, to the village, to the church. And every choice you make in secret carves you further from safety, and deeper into danger. Shall I continue into section 10, where Isolde begins to witness firsthand how the church uses fear of demons and sin to control women's desires, and how this further shapes her secret defiance? J.Z. Wrap it up. ChatGPT-Z. Section 10, the ending. Autumn comes with a chill that bites through your shift. The fields turn gold, then brown, and the nights grow long. The village prays harder now, fearing the pestilence that creeps from town to town. Some say it comes by air, others by sin. Always, the blame falls heaviest on women, wives, widows, daughters. One evening, as you walk from the well, you see smoke curling in the distance. At first you think it is from a hearth, but then the shouting reaches you. A crowd has gathered in the meadow. You push through, heart pounding, until you see the pyre. A woman, face obscured, hands bound, is tied to the stake. She screams once, high and raw, before the flames take her voice. Witch! Someone mutters beside you. She lay with demons. Your stomach twists. You cannot breathe. You know, as surely as you know the weight of Matthias' hand on your wrist, that the woman's crime was not demons. It was knowledge. That night, when Matthias touches you, you do not flinch. You stare past him at the rafters, and in your mind you hear Greta's voice, Agnes' voice, your mother's whispers. Every woman here is guilty. And suddenly, guilt does not feel like shame. It feels like truth. It feels like defiance. You survive that winter, and the next. You learn to measure the herbs more carefully, to hide them better. You speak little in church, but you listen, to the women at the well, to the murmurs that pass from mother to daughter in the hush of night. You carry their knowledge like smoldering coals, hidden, waiting. Years later, when a girl barely